It's just every song I've ever listened to that I was a fan of growing up, put it in the blender that is my brain and then spat out the other side. Hi guys, my name's Dolla and you're watching Billboard News.
Hi, I'm Katie Bain for Billboard News and I'm here with Grammy-nominated producer Dolla. Dom, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, appreciate it.
Like a bird, I'm taking it home.
I want to start with knowing exactly what you were doing when you found out you were nominated.
I was in bed, I woke up, checked my phone and just started swearing. It was a weird morning. Honestly, back home in Australia, it's the award that all of my Australian friends and families understand as like the highest echelon of, of music. So honestly, that's been the coolest part. Like I was just back home in Australia with all my relatives and they were like, bugging out over it.
Sure, they understand how big what you do that they may not understand on a day-to-day basis has actually become.
Yeah, like don't you uncles and aunties at the Christmas dinner, like, you're a DJ, right? So now like, oh, okay, it's like actually, you're doing pretty good with the music production and songwriting stuff. So.
You're nominated for Remixing Gorillaz' New Gold. Gorillaz is obviously a legendary act. Did you feel any nervousness when you got the stems, when you got the project, about how to approach it?
Yeah, I think that record in particular, it had a top line or a vocal from Booty Brown, Kevin Parker, Tame Impala. Not really something I wanted to half cook, you know. So I actually went through probably like 4 or 5 versions until I found a version that I was really, really happy with. And I actually played it, had a chance to open with it here in Los Angeles at a show, and I knew the second that I was like, I'm feeling pretty confident about this. You never really know though until you play it in front of an audience. Yeah, I knew straight away. I was like, we're on here. That's generally my measuring stick anyway.
The best test for anything.
Yeah. Play it live.
What about the band? Did they give any guidance for what they wanted and then any feedback for when it was done?
No, all I knew was like they'll either like it or they don't like it, and Damon Albarn invited me to go and hang out with him at Coachella backstage last year, and he was basically said how stoked he was and really grateful that I did it, and he was it's a real moment. The culmination of all of those things, the artists that are featured on it, the nomination, it's all just surreal. So.
What are your plans now that it is officially Grammy season? What does it look like for you in terms of events?
I was thinking about inviting my mum over from Australia and bringing her over for the Grammys, which would be fun. I enjoy sharing those moments with family and friends, so maybe, I might have to drag her over from Melbourne.
You gotta bring mom for the Grammys. I'd say that's like the best Grammy date you could probably ask for.
Yeah.
Make some noise for mom.
You remix for other artists, obviously. Dua Lipa, Calvin Harris, very big names. I'm wondering how, if at all, your process when you're remixing is different when you're making your own stuff in the studio. Like, do you have a different mindset or a different approach?
100%. I think remixing is generally about, I'll go through all the stems and figure out the elements that are my favorite elements from the record. And there's a lot that I'm like, I'm not really into that. I would have, used different chords or, there are elements of the vocal often that I might be more of a fan of, these ad-libs versus those. And I find I just do a lot of chopping and picking and basically filling buckets of my favorite stuff from the original and just deleting everything else and then using those parameters to create something new. Whereas original music is like complete, blank slate. And I might just sit down and write chords and start humming melodies, and that's how I write original stuff, or even figuring out what the cadence of like a rap that I can hear over a beat that I've written.
I mean, in terms of inspiration for your own stuff, like do you have a process where you have to sit down or is it more like you're moving through the world and then you'll hear a melody or inspirational strike?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time it's turning my phone off, having a coffee, going through, I've got like folders of like inspiration records that I love, and whether that's like moods or, vocalists that I like, or like certain tones or sound of a record that I really enjoy. It's just every song I've ever listened to that I was a fan of growing up, put it in the blender that is my brain, and then spat out the other side.
Sure, that's very well said. That's what I love about your music and your sets too. Like you're not afraid to work in like Sierra and Guns N' Roses and like all of these really kind of playful and disparate influences and sounds. What does that say about you?
I feel like the audience that has connected with me, just have similar tastes to what I do. So
And appreciate that playfulness and that lack of ego.
yeah, just don't take it too seriously,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Well, at the same time, taking it so seriously that you get a Grammy nomination and you play the biggest festivals in the world.
That's work ethic, I feel, or like just being dedicated to your craft. But yeah, try not to overthink it.
Some people say for diamond.
In terms of the musical influences that you put in that metaphorical blender, I read that you kind of got into music when your mom gave you Basement Jaxx album. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, she bought me a copy of Basement Jaxx's album Rudy, and I had a picture of an albino gorilla on the front of it, and and it's really bright pink. It's very, if you know the album cover, it stands out. And she saw it, she's like, "Oh, Dom will like the look of that," and grabbed it. She didn't listen to it or proofread it. There was plenty of swearing in it, and handed it over to me, and I just became obsessed. I actually had a friend of mine, Patrick Topping, introduced me to them in Ibiza last year. And
How was that?
Yeah,
How was
amazing.
that?
Had a chance to fill them in on the story, and
Wow.
and that was really cool. And they went on to tell me that the gorilla that's on the front cover, I always thought was just a character that they created, but it turned out it was a real gorilla, and they went and like photographed it. And for me, the last sort of 12 months or 24 months has just been full of these incredible moments of meeting people that inspired me, and
Sure.
that was one of them.
Sure. Who else?
I think working with Nelly Furtado.
I need your man to bow him ho. Look at my fingers, I'm in control.
I grew up listening to her music.
Yeah.
Me and my younger sister were obsessed. And then, she reached out. Turns out she was a fan of my music.
Well, it seems like a real creative partnership. Why do you think, what is the chemistry there? Like, what's sort of the secret sauce that's making this work so well?
Honestly, I think I grew up listening to her music. She's heard that, obviously that's influenced my taste. She's heard that in my songwriting and gone,
Sure.
why do I relate to this? And I think it's because of me listening to her as a youngster. And then, it's just come together that way.
Because you put it in your blender.
Yeah,
When
put it
you
in
were
my
a kid,
subconscious blender. and then
totally.
it's- Yeah.
I thought 2023 was a big year for you, but looking at 2024 with the Grammys and the Coachella lineup is out, you're playing twice. You're playing with Everything Always with John Summit, and then you're playing a solo set. Do you feel like a star, or are there moments where you're like, I have made it?
No, I definitely don't feel like a star. I feel like it's, what I'm really getting used to over the last 24 months is the whole walking down the street, getting stopped stuff. That's kind of new for me. And
What's it like?
it can get pretty intense at times.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun though, because people are like, people often apologize. I'm so sorry. I'm like, well, you're paying the bills, mate. Come, let's get a photo.
The Everything Always project. I'm curious what you and John do together that maybe is slightly different from what you do separately.
Energy. I feel like we both feed off each other, and things just escalate. And that same thing goes for music and DJ sets as well. We tend to play more and harder and harder and harder, which is fun. When we come together, it's just a party. Wait and see. I feel like that.
Any hints?
Nah, I'll spoil the surprise. You gonna be there?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So there will be a surprise. It's
Yeah.
what we know for sure. Don't miss it. Do you feel, as a leader in the genre, do you want to push dance further? Is what I'm asking, I guess.
I certainly would love to just break, push the boundaries. And
Sure.
I think growing up as a house DJ, playing house and techno, and it's very sceney, and there are a lot of rules, and you can't play this and you can't do that. But I just think all those rules they just don't exist anymore.
So you feel that shifting? You feel the
100%.
parameters just falling away, and there's this kind of new freedom.
100%, yeah.
That's awesome.
And all of these people that from different subgenres in dance are all hanging out and having a good time together, and there's the chin stroking element of judgment, and has kind of disappeared, which is incredible.
Yeah,
It's
thank
exciting. I think it's a testament to Gen Z and the new generation, and being authentic to who they are in the modern day, as opposed to putting themselves forward in a way that they think is the way they should be to be accepted.
Sure. So with everything that you have got going on, with everything that you've done already, if you could talk to that little boy who's, clutching the burned Rudy CD, how many years ago, like what advice would you give your younger self and the version of you that was just starting out?
I wouldn't change anything. I'd actually be terrified to go back and talk to him actually, because the whole butterfly effect might change something,
Right.
I reckon just stick within the genre that you really enjoy, because the last thing you want is to be chasing a trend and then, have a record that becomes popular and you end up stuck in a world that you don't like.
Right.
Gotta be patient.
Stand your ground.
Yeah, stand your ground, for sure.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
So I really enjoyed that.